Hello, everybody. Welcome to the second episode of But Hear Me Out, though. My name is Ty. What a week it has been, everybody. And I say a week because it's been a week since Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Something has, so much has gone on. Something is happening. And I watched my first show for the first time, and I realized that there are things that I said that were right, that happened this week and this past week. Let's just go through the run through. Yes, they did find the person that assassinated him. His name is Tyler Robinson. He's 22. Apparently, he was living with a transgender person. Um, and the bullets that he shot were engraved with some sort of message that had to do with trans and violence, I believe. Um, and incidentally, when he shot Kirk, Kirk was talking about trans people and violence. Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk's good friend, um, has been talking a lot in the last couple of days. She has said that this is not what you think. She believes that Israel or somebody has something to do with Charlie Kirk's death. I think that she put the video out maybe 2 days ago, maybe 3 days ago, saying that Charlie was being pressured, that he was being offered a lot of money, allegedly, and that um, people were at a specific meeting in the Hamptons pushing him to kind of modify his message. Benjamin Netanyahu apparently was on the phone during that meeting and asked for Charlie Kirk to come to Israel for, as Candace put it, a re-education of Israel. Now, that happened, if that happened, that's interesting. That's interesting. Now, the things that I was right about. Last week, I said the people that were making fun of Charlie Kirk were going to feel the effects, and that they didn't realize that their freedom of speech was being trampled on. Their right to freedom of speech was being trampled on. And when something happened, such as, oh my God, I can't believe they did that. Here, I'm just going to play the clip. Watching people celebrate this man dying, watching any human celebrate the death of another human being is mortifying and gut wrenching. And those laughing about it and everything else should be the first ones that go, oh my God, I don't understand why such and such happened. This is crazy. But meanwhile, I want you to go back in your TikTok feed and remember how you were laughing about this shit. This is greater than what you think. Your God-given rights are being stripped from you. Now, people want to throw Trump in this or whatever else. This is beyond him, to be honest with you. See? And here we go. Breaking news. Jimmy Kimmel was just pulled off at ABC indefinitely for disparaging remarks he made about Charlie Kirk and being assassinated. Not only that, it's trickled down to the American public where people are now being fired from their jobs because they're saying horrible things and cheering for the assassination of Charlie Kirk. People, didn't I say that this was an attack on your free speech? I said this. Not only that, now they're pitting left against right. It was already bad. We know it was bad when they were trying to figure out who this guy was and it was coming out that he had a transgender. I was like, here we go. I even texted a friend before that information came out and I said, if it's going to be a transgender, I'm going to flip out. Because if you're watching the news objectively, not looking at it through race, not looking at it through being left or right, just watching it, right? This was set up for you guys to be squabbling. Squabbling? Why? What do they want to distract you from? What could they possibly want to distract you from? Now everybody's saying Israel. The things that are going on in Israel is a shame. It's a shame. Um, that, the Israeli government has started its mission to take over Gaza. Oh, which was another thing that Charlie Kirk was talking about towards the end. He was talking about how things were going on with Israel that he wasn't too comfortable with, and that being offered a lot of money to do or say certain things that he didn't agree with, and he chose not to take the money. This is according to Candace Owens, right? His friend, right? Interesting. But if your eye is directed towards Israel, all these other players that they're saying, the left versus the right, can somebody, what are they distracting us from? And the way that I look at things through different lenses, right? I look at it from a black point of view. I look at it from a female point of view. I look at it from being a former service member. I look at it through that way, through politics. I look at things through many different lenses. And there's one thing that keeps popping up in my mind that just keeps playing over and over and over and over again. Now, I don't know, and people are going to be like, oh my God, this is a conspiracy theory. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This isn't, I know a crime happened. This isn't my necessary theory on it. This is just looking at it from a different point of view, right? I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying it's from a different point of view. Have you guys ever heard of Yuri Bezmenov? Have you ever heard of this man? His other names, I believe, was Thomas Schumann. He defected from Russia, USSR. He was, I believe, a journalist for Russian media, and he came to the United States and started to give interviews specifically to our media, saying that um, we are under attack, basically, is what he says. And I'm going to play the clip for you. I'm going to play a very short clip for you. There's videos out there that have the entire interview. His name is Yuri Bezmenov, and he had an interview. I believe the guy's name was F. Griffin something. Anyway, in this video, he says that the United States is under ideological subversion. Ideological subversion. What does that mean? Because that sounds like a mouthful of vowels and consonants, but I don't know what that means. Basically, that means that somebody outside of your country, the enemy, if you will, someone that does not mean well for your country or your people, is pumping you full of certain ideas to control you, to make you think one reality versus another. Kind of this Charlie Kirk thing is a left versus right issue, black versus white issue, versus the United States versus whomever issue. And I really had to sit back and look at all of this. And I said to myself, this looks so familiar. This looks so I've seen this play out before. And I've seen his idea of ideological subversion played out in my lifetime in the United States quite a few times. And he says that there are four stages of ideological subversion. And he talks about these stages. And I want you guys to listen to this through his eyes. And if I know some of us are like, how do we know? Just listen to it. Just take in the information. Also, this man died mysteriously, or I think they said he had a heart attack. I don't remember. But he died when he was 53 in Canada. Right? So that tells you something. Listen, I want you to take a listen to this.
Fully understand. When the Soviets used the phrase ideological subversion, what do they mean by it?
Ideological subversion is the process which is legitimate, overt, and open. You can see it with your own eyes. All you have to do, all American mass media has to do, is to unplug their bananas from their ears, open up their eyes, and they can see it. There is no mystery. There is nothing to do with espionage. I know that espionage intelligence gathering looks more romantic. It sells more deodorants through the advertising, probably. That's why your Hollywood producers are so crazy about James Bond type of thrillers. But in reality, the main emphasis of the KGB is not in the area of intelligence at all. According to my opinion and opinion of many defectors of my caliber, only about 15% of time, money, and manpower is spent on espionage as such. The other 85% is a slow process which we call either ideological subversion or active measures, активные мероприятия in the language of the KGB, or psychological warfare. What it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country. It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow, and it's divided in four basic stages. The first one being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. Why that many years? Because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students in the country of your enemy, exposed to the ideology of the enemy. In other words, Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism, American patriotism. The result you can see. Most of the people who graduated in the 60s, dropouts or half-baked intellectuals, are now occupying the positions of power in the government, civil service, business, mass media, educational system. You are stuck with them. You cannot get rid of them. They are contaminated. They are programmed to think and react to certain stimuli in a certain pattern. You cannot change their mind, even if you expose them to authentic information, even if you prove that white is white and black is black, you still cannot change the basic perception and the logic of behavior. In other words, these people, the process of demoralization is complete and irreversible. To get rid of society of these people, you need another 20 or 15 years to educate a new generation of patriotically minded and common sense people who would be acting in favor and in the interests of the United States society.
And yet these people who've been programmed and, as you say, in place and
Yes.
who are favorable to an opening with the Soviet concept, these are the very people who would be marked for extermination in this country?
Most of them, yes. Simply because the psychological shock when they will see in future what the beautiful society of equality and social justice means in practice, obviously they will revolt. They will be very unhappy, frustrated people, and the Marxist-Leninist regime does not tolerate these people. They will join the links of dissenters, dissidents. Unlike in present United States, there will be no place for dissent in future Marxist-Leninist America. Here you can get popular like Daniel Ellsberg and filthy rich like Jane Fonda for being dissident, for criticizing your Pentagon. In future, these people will be simply squashed like cockroaches. Nobody is going to pay them nothing for their beautiful, noble ideas of equality. This they don't understand, and it will be a greatest shock for them, of course. The demoralization process in the United States is basically completed already. For the last 25 years. Actually, it's overfulfilled, because demoralization now reaches such areas where previously not even Comrade Andropov and all his experts would even dream of such a tremendous success. Most of it is done by Americans to Americans, thanks to lack of moral standards. As I mentioned before, exposure to true information does not matter anymore. A person who was demoralized is unable to assess true information. The facts tell nothing to him. Even if I shower him with information, with authentic proof, with documents, with pictures, even if I take him by force to the Soviet Union and show him concentration camp, he will refuse to believe it until he is going to receive a kick in his fat bottom. When a military boot crashes his balls, then he will understand, but not before that. That's the tragic of the situation of demoralization. So basically America is stuck with demoralization, and unless, even if you start right now, here, this minute, you start educating new generation of Americans, it will still take you 15 to 20 years to turn the tide of ideological perception of reality back to normalcy and patriotism. The next stage is destabilization. This time, subverter does not care about your ideas and the patterns of your consumption. Whether you eat junk food and get fat and flabby, doesn't matter anymore. This time, and it takes only from 2 to 5 years to destabilize a nation, what matters is essentials: economy, foreign relations, defense systems. And you can see it quite clearly that in some areas, in such sensitive areas as defense and economy, the influence of Marxist-Leninist ideas in the United States is absolutely fantastic. I could never believe it 14 years ago when I landed in this part of the world that the process will go that fast. The next stage, of course, is crisis. It may take only up to 6 weeks to bring a country to the verge of crisis. You can see it in Central America now. And after crisis, with a violent change of power, structure, and economy, you have so-called the period of normalization. It may last indefinitely. Normalization is a cynical expression borrowed from Soviet propaganda. When the Soviet tanks moved into Czechoslovakia in '68, Comrade Brezhnev said, "Now the situation in brotherly Czechoslovakia is normalized." This is what will happen in the United States if you allow all these schmucks to bring the country to crisis, to promise people all kind of goodies and the paradise on earth, to destabilize your economy, to eliminate the principle of free market competition, and to put a big brother government in Washington, D.C., with benevolent dictators like Walter Mondale, who will promise lots of things, never mind whether the promises are fulfillable or not. He will go to Moscow to kiss the bottoms of new generation of Soviet assassins, never mind. He will create false illusions that the situation is under control. Situation is not under control. Situation is disgustingly out of control. Most of the American politicians, media, and educational system trains another generation of people who think they are living at a peacetime. False. United States is in a state of war, undeclared total war against the basic principles and the foundations of this system. And the initiator of this war is not Comrade Andropov, of course. It's the system. However ridiculous it may sound, the world communist system, or the world communist conspiracy, whether I scare some people or not, I don't give a hoot. If you are not scared by now, nothing can scare you. But you don't have to be paranoid about it. What actually happens now, that unlike myself, you have literally several years to live on unless the United States wake up. The time bomb is ticking. With every second, the disaster is coming closer and closer. Unlike myself, you will have nowhere to defect to, unless you want to live in Antarctica with penguins. This is it. This is the last country of freedom and possibility.
Okay, so what do we do? What is your recommendation to the American people?
Well, the immediate thing that comes to my mind is, of course, there must be a very strong national effort to educate people in the spirit of real patriotism, number one. Number two, to explain them the real danger of socialist, communist, whatever, welfare state, big brother government. If people will fail to grasp the impending danger of that development, nothing ever can help United States. You may kiss goodbye to your freedom, including freedoms to homosexuals, to prison inmate. All this freedom will vanish, evaporate in 5 seconds, including your precious lives. The second thing, the moment at least part of United States population is convinced that the danger is real, they have to force their government. And I'm not talking about sending letters, signing petitions, and all this beautiful, noble activity. I'm talking about forcing United States government to stop aiding communism. Because there is no other problem more burning and urgent than to stop the Soviet military-industrial complex from destroying whatever is left of the free world. And it is very easy to do. No credits, no technology, no money, no political or diplomatic recognition, and of course no such idiocy as grain deals to USSR. The Soviet people, 270 millions of Soviets, will be eternally thankful to you if you stop aiding a bunch of murderers who sit now in Kremlin and whom President Reagan respectfully calls government. They do not govern anything, least of all such complexity as the Soviet economy. So basic, two very simple, maybe too simplistic answers or solutions, but nevertheless they are the only solutions. Educate yourself. Understand what's going on around you. You are not living at the time of peace. You are in a state of war. And you have precious little time to save yourself. You don't have much time, especially if you are talking about young generation. There is not much time left for convulsions and sexual masturbation to the beautiful disco music. Very soon it will go, just overnight. If we are talking about capitalists or wealthy businessmen, I think they are selling the rope on which they will hang very soon. If they don't stop, if they cannot curb their unsettled desire for profit, and if they keep on trading with the monster of the Soviet communism, they are going to hang very soon. And they will pray to be killed, but unfortunately they will be sent to Alaska probably to manage industry of slaves. It's simplistic. I know it sounds unpleasant. I know Americans don't like to listen to things which are unpleasant. But I have defected not to tell you the stories about such idiocies as microfilm, James Bond type espionage. This is garbage. You don't need any espionage anymore. I have come to talk about survival. It's a question of survival of this system.
So, what do you think? This man kept popping up in my mind the entire time I'm sitting here watching the news. And the way that I watch the news is I have it on mute because I really don't care about what anybody's opinion is. I just want to see what's happening. And so it allows me to think independently and not agree or disagree with anybody that's talking. Anyway, is it possible? That's all I'm saying. Is it possible? Is it possible? I mean, I think that Israel's part or their relationship with the United States is much deeper than we could ever imagine. I think that people need to understand that Israel didn't come into being until 1948. This is 3 years after the end of World War II. So, the other thing is that I love history, not just US history, but world history. And history. And what I've learned is that Russia does things in stages. And so it had me thinking, even in the beginning of the Ukraine war, if you go back, oh, they were when this thing started, before we knew what it was going to be, people like the news was reporting that Russia was taking tanks to the border of Ukraine, and Russia was like, oh no, we're just doing a military exercise. Next thing you know, Russia has invaded Ukraine, and now here we are. And I think that Ukraine obviously is just a step towards something greater. However, is it possible? Now, we've had this whole thing that Trump, there was collusion with Russia and on the other side as well. I'm just curious if you watch a lot of, I watch a lot of documentaries. I, again, look at them at an objective view and see which side they're telling it from, but I still like to get the information right. I know that Russia infiltrating us, I guess, through cyber networks and things like that, the dark web, that, um, you know, their hand was definitely has been around, a lot of people say in the last few elections. I don't know what to think, but I do know that this keeps popping up, and I can't help but wonder. The other thing that has me wondering, now, I can criticize Trump. You want to know why? It's my dirty little secret. I voted for Donald Trump. I voted for him. Is it a dirty little secret? I don't know. Most of the people around me know that I did. And I had my reasons for voting for him, and we could talk about that another time on another show. I'd be willing to talk about it. Um, but I'm very disappointed with him. I thought he was more for America than he is, because I feel like as much as he has been rah, rah, rah for our country, and that's part of the reason why I voted for him, why isn't he standing up to Putin? Hmm. People go, well, they're friends. Yeah, but I think that's a one-sided friendship. I think that I don't I think that Trump doesn't realize how bad this is making him look. I don't think that he realizes that he's more friends with Putin than Putin is with him. That's my honest take. Because if I were president and I had these big balls to do what I'm doing in my own country, and I'm this big bad superpower, and I have another country that's invading another country, and this country that's invading the other country, we've had issues with them before. We've been at war with them before, multiple times. Let's go back in history, shall we? I think he's really blinded. And that upsets me because I thought that maybe, he's playing it cool and maybe he still is. Maybe he is. If I look at it another way, I could see why he's holding off. I really can. If I were president, I could see why he would be holding off. If I had other things at play. So that could be another thing. And I hope that that's really the thing. I hope that no one has scared this man into not bucking up or standing up to Russia and to Putin. And I want him to understand that I think that we're all under attack. I think that he has also been under attack in ways that he's not even conscious of. And so that's happened to all of us. We're all a victim of it. If you watch Yuri, he says that this goes back so far, this ideological subversion, because it happened in his country. It happened in Russia. And to look at what happened to his country and then compare it to ours, it's pretty much the same. That's what made me say, okay, this isn't who we think it is. Somebody else is pulling the strings. And if this happened before, and so this Yuri Bezmenov interview is, I don't know, from the early 80s, I believe. And he said it's been going on for for 3 generations before that. So that would put Trump in that arena, right? Of possibly being indoctrinated with certain things. And he is ultimately a culmination of what was started way back when with Lenin and Stalin. And is he a casualty of Stalin? And if that's the case, and we all know that Putin reveres Stalin, I don't know. And it's not, I'm just trying to piece together from what I know. I read, again, a lot of history. Politics is my thing. Okay? Right now I'm getting my master's in political science and starting my PhD in the fall of 2026 to start my PhD in political science. This is what I do. And so for me to look at it through different lenses and to put myself in different shoes and then come back and look at it through a political lens, holy crap, we're in trouble. And do I give Trump grace? I do. I give him grace. But I only give him grace if he recognizes it and tries to fix it. And what does that look like? Well, it's the opposite of what he's doing right now. So to connect it all, did Russia have something to do with that whole thing with Charlie Kirk ultimately at the top? It's possible. I know that we think that Israel got its own thing going on, but people forget that Benjamin Netanyahu's from Pennsylvania and near Philadelphia at that. We must remember that this is an American doing this. That's another thing I look at. This is an American? Israel? I definitely think that Israel is like the 51st state of the United States. That's a whole nother show. But this is where I sit. This is when my brain is going on in my brain. Um, and I'm not sure. But what I will say to the American public is that this is not what you think. For the people that look like me, the Black community, you are going to have to learn, and it's very hard, to take off those race glasses. It's very hard because that's how they control us. That's how they allow us to quote unquote walk free, but they still control us by race. So that's why I say you need to take those race glasses off. Oh, Charlie Kirk was a racist. Okay. He grew up in a white world and he followed Jesus. And if you listen to Candace and their friends, he was having challenges with his own ideology. So I just want everybody to understand that this isn't a black or white issue. Now, I also want people to take away this left or right issue. I want you to take those off. They want you to fight left or right. This is what that's what they're doing. Somebody threw a stone, they're hiding their hand and watching you guys fight about it. Do not allow them to do this. And I'm all over social media, TikTok, Twitter, it doesn't matter. People texting me it doesn't matter. You guys are so divided. This is what's supposed to happen. You need to stop and go, oh wait, they wanted us to fight? Then I need you to take a step back and go, all right, you got me there, but I'm not going to fight about left or right anymore. At the end of the day, I'm a human being. At the end of the day, he was a human being, right? At the end of the day, the person sitting next to you, you have to recognize the humanity in another person to understand what's going on. That's first and foremost. Okay? I don't want this to be a left or right issue. I want this to be, we are Americans. We are the United States of America. And that there are people outside of our country that do not have the best intentions for our country. That we are just a nation that consumes, and that we are a country that falls for anything that they tell us, and that they can take away our freedom, that they can rip up our Constitution, and that we will do it ourselves and beg the government to do that simply because we're scared. That's what's going on here. And that's what I want everybody to recognize. Do not get lost in the weeds. I don't want you to go down rabbit holes. Maybe you might. Don't get too far. Come back up for air. Okay? I want you to just know the players in a situation, remember their names, remember who they work for or what they do, and just keep that in the back of your mind. Do not look at this as left or right. Do not watch the news. That's their job, is to keep you divided. Do not let them do this. I keep telling you, this is about our rights. This is about the Constitution. This is about the fact that the United States, if it isn't already, is being subjugated by another country. And who is that country? Who is that? And if we know who it is, why aren't we stepping to them? Why aren't we handling it like the United States of America should? Your friends aren't your friends. That's what I want people to know. Specifically in the government, people aren't your friends. Think about it. Look at it. And if you know that, And if you have other plans to do other things and you're keeping it under wraps and you're playing it cool, then that's fine. And I'll respect that. But it's not looking too good. The optics. Even standing back and looking at it through it differently and through different lenses. Something's rotten in the cotton. So that's all I have to say about that. I just want us to start thinking critically. I want us to remove the social controls that are placed on our people, not just in America, but all over the world, to keep us separated and easy to control. And that would be race, politics, socioeconomic standing, religion, anything that they can use to divide you. You need to talk to different Americans without this BS that's being spewed on the news and what's being spewed on social media. Think for yourself. And as I said before, it is not illegal yet, but it seems like it's very close. It seems like it's very, very close. And I can't imagine living in a world where I would be afraid to speak my mind and say what I want to say without being in fear of being murdered. What country is that? Surely it's not the United States of America. Surely it's not. And if it is, how did we get this way? What is going on? How do we not see the signs? Well, I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you. And that we have to stand up, and that we have to find our voice, and that we have to not allow this to happen. You got to undo that mental bondage that you're in, that everything that you're force-fed is real. And that you have to look at the reality of the situation. The reality of the situation is that the United States of America and its Constitution are under attack. That's it. No more. And what's the solution? And what do we do about that? What do we do about the fact that the United States of America and its freedoms that were given to us by God are being stripped away from us? What do we do? You got to prepare yourself first. Undo those things and those controls to prevent you from looking at reality. So that's all I have to say for today. I know a lot of people are still squabbling, but this is, I have so much that I want to say to different communities. But I think that I've said enough, and that I hope that what I've said tonight, not just for the Black community, but for every American, every community, white, Black, Hispanic, Japanese, Chinese, every American. And if I left any other out, I'm sorry. But if you're American, stand up. Take the chains off of your mind. Stop believing what you're seeing on the news. Understand what's going on. Understand how they're force feeding you. Understand, watch Yuri. Please let me know what you guys think in the comments about what he said. And is it possible that we're under this ideological subversion? And I look forward to our next meeting. As I said, this podcast is not left or right. This podcast isn't black or white. It's not rich or poor. This is the platform that we will use to talk about issues and current events that are affecting the American people as a whole and what we're going to do about it. That's what But Hear Me Out, though, is about. Just hear me out. Don't just leave your judgments, leave your opinion at the door, and just hear me out. That's all. And if you want to disagree, that's okay. But critical thinking is important. And that's what I'm trying to inspire here. And for people that are saying, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, please go back and look at when that phrase was coined, when that phrase came about, and who created the term conspiracy theory and why. I want you to specifically look at the reason why the phrase conspiracy theory or conspiracy theorist was created. Okay? And then I want you to push that out of your mind. Conspiracy means a crime has been committed. A theory is just your take on how that crime was committed. That's it. That's freedom of speech. And you're more than welcome to have an opinion. And nobody's going to judge you on that opinion. Some might go, that doesn't seem right. I don't know. But you're allowed to say what you want and not be judged. Maybe it's something that nobody's ever thought of. Oh, I never looked at it that way. That's possible. Okay, what would we do with that? How do we solve that? How do we deal with that? How do we make sure we take that down? Remove that thinking. This is where I want you to be, America. Okay? This is where I want you to be. And with that, I've gone on longer than I intended to. I wish you all the very best week. I'm sure that a lot more things are going to happen in the next coming weeks. I'm already seeing it. I have so much, but I'm going to take specific shows to talk about specific issues or situations or thoughts that I have that we can discuss and banter about respectfully. And we're nothing but respect on this show. I respect you, you respect me, and you respect all of the other participants that are watching this and that have formed their own opinions. Oh, one more thing. Everybody keeps talking about these Epstein files. Epstein this, Epstein that. I'm going to tell you why nothing's being released. I'm sure you guys already know. Some of you are like, Donald's on the list, and if we find out exactly who is on that list, this entire world will collapse into anarchy. Mark my words. It's not who you think. Or maybe it is who you think, and they know they're untouchable, and they're keeping it quiet. Do I think Donald Trump is on the list? I don't know. They were friends, but I'm not sure. I wasn't there, so who am I to say? But it's possible that he did. I don't know. I wasn't there. But I think that it needs to come out, but I don't think it's gonna. Because once we find out the dignitaries and presidents and prime ministers of different countries, we are gonna have anarchy. You thought Nepal was bad? Imagine Nepal, and for those that don't know what happened in Nepal, they were burning parliament buildings and things because their government shut off their social media. Anyway, it's deeper than that, but there's corruption and everything going on. Anyway, what happened in Nepal will happen all over this world if that list comes out. And so that's my take on the Epstein files. I don't think that we're ever going to get the full view of how deep this scandal is. That's it. And they're not going to let the world fall into anarchy like that. They're too focused on controlling you. You think they're going to risk anything to lose this? No, work too hard. So that's my take on the Epstein files. Anywho, I'm really going to go this time. But you guys have a great week. God bless America. God bless the American people. And I'll see you guys next time on But Hear Me Out, though. Have a good week, everybody.